A warm welcome to everyone. We're really glad you're all here tonight, joining from different parts of the globe. We're gathering here and now in Liberation Circle to stay present with suffering in the world, especially the ongoing devastation in Gaza, the West Bank, and the lives of Palestinians. We come together not as neutral observers, but to keep our hearts open and to align ourselves with justice and liberation. Tonight we'll do that together with Anuradha Bhagwati, who is joining us from her home in the West Bank, from an occupied territory with checkpoints, restricted movement and constant threat. What she will share with us is not theory, it's her daily reality. Anuradha is an Indian-American writer, activist, and former US Marine Corps captain, a long-time teacher of trauma-informed yoga and meditation. Talking about Gaza and the West Bank, it's so easy to think this conflict is so complex. I don't know enough. Who am I to say anything? And in his book, The Message, Ta-Nehisi quotes an African-American writer on race and justice, describes how talk of complexity can numb our moral senses, as if we must first know every detail before we're allowed to feel that something is deeply wrong. Liberation Circle chooses a different movement. We are not here to solve the conflict or to win a debate. We are here to bear witness, to let one voice, one life, one perspective touch us, and to let that contact shape how we see, speak, and act. So I'd like to invite you to treat this evening as a practice, which means that we listen with full attention. This is not a space for both sides' debate, but for testimony and truth-telling. We allow ourselves to be affected. If sadness, anger, confusion, or helplessness comes up, that's not a problem. You don't have to fix it or turn into a position. And we remember the asymmetry in this room. Most of us are sitting in relative safety and comfort. Anuradha is joining us from the West Bank, in the midst of the daily violence and horror she will speak about. Later in the session, there will be time for questions. When we come to that part, I'd like to ask you, please keep your questions short, clear, and to the point. Ask from a place of curiosity and connection, not to challenge, correct, or prove a point. And we also want to be mindful of inequality in who speaks. If you know you are usually the first to speak, you might experiment with pausing and letting others go first. If you tend to hold back, you are warmly invited to take your place and to trust that what you have to say really matters. And if you don't have a question, that's completely fine too. Silent, respectful witnessing is already a real contribution. Anuradha, we are deeply grateful that you're willing to speak with us from the West Bank and to share not only information, but your lived experience and reflections. With that, it's my great honor to hand over to you. We are listening.
Thank you, Joyce. What a lovely introduction. I feel your thoughtfulness and care in creating this space for everyone. It's really appreciated. And my goodness, it is so lovely to see all of you. Many of you from Turtle Island. I'm so excited to see your faces here. There, for those of you in the EU or UK or anywhere else, we've got lots of friends from the States on this Zoom call, many of whom are really diehard activists for Palestine and for social justice in general. And it's such an honor to have them here with us today. So I love this transatlantic, multinational, multi-continental gathering. This feels right. So yeah, thank you for all the work you do. Shall I just do a 10-minute intro, Joyce? And then we'll do the practice afterwards. Yeah? Okay. Ooh. So I'm sitting in what we would call the office within the community center in Amalkhair. Amalkhair is a Bedouin village in the southern West Bank. Uh, oh, the puppies are so welcome. Thank you. In the southern West Bank, it consists of about 300 people and 37 families. I spent a few months here earlier with Ajahn Santamano, whom some of you know. He wasn't able actually to cross the border with me. He was turned around and sent back to Jordan. So it's one thing I can definitely touch on later is the precariousness of visiting Palestine as a foreigner right now. The US passport, the British passport doesn't do much for us anymore. We are definitely considered a threat to Israel, all of us. So just something to know. Um, yeah, and Khair is a village of refugees from the 1948 Nakba. Uh, they came here to this land after 48 and established Khair. They have the paperwork, which right now is sort of it's a source of it's sort of a tragic thing to remind oneself of because you know we like to think we're living in systems of law and order, and you know you have evidence of a murder, you have video footage of a murder, you have evidence of land ownership. None of these things matter here. It is all like some dystopian science fiction where there are many security forces operating every day, but no rules whatsoever. So this lovely little village has been besieged by settlers and settlement building since 1981. And so I thought I'd just give you a little nighttime tour. We'll see what you can pick up on the video. Um, so this is the office. This is one of the security cameras that is on all day and all night. There will be somebody, a young man from the community, doing the night shift here. We often come in and, dabble on our computers and chat over coffee during the day. This is a mural to Hajj Suleiman, who is distinguished. We say Allah yarhamu to acknowledge that he has passed. He is now a shaheed or a martyr. He was the village leader for many years, and he was uh, run over by a truck, a settler truck, 2 years ago. And his son Eid, you may have seen Eid doing videos for Al Khair. His son is a human rights activist extraordinaire. Is actually in Amsterdam now, accepting a human rights award for Al Khair. So, but his legacy is here in Al Khair. This is the playground. This is where everyone plays. It's really the gathering place for the village. Khair is under mass demolition orders, so these structures are under threat of destruction. This place where the people gather. Uh, and the court is there. There are many lawyers arguing many things with the Israeli High Court regarding these demolitions. For those of you in the U.S., you may know that 108 members of Congress signed a letter to Benjamin Netanyahu pleading with him to stop the demolitions in Al Khair. It's kind of remarkable. 108 members of Congress can't even agree that there's a genocide happening in Gaza, but at least they are saying that these mass demolitions shouldn't happen in Al Khair. This is this is the basketball court, and this is where our dear friend Aude Hatalin was murdered about 4 months ago. You can kind of see, uh, let me get a little closer. So this is where he was shot. This is sort of a dirt ring to mark where he was shot. There's still blood on the floor. He was actually recording on his cell phone, uh, just 31 years old, recording as he always has. He was a human rights documenter, recording a bulldozer that had invaded the village and was threatening to demolish and destroy structures. A settler came out of nowhere, a very infamous settler that the EU has actually sanctioned, had been sanctioned by the US, named Yinon Levy. And Yinon had a pistol, a loaded pistol, started waving it around. And many of you have probably seen the footage of that, and killed Ade just on the spot. His son was with them, his 2-year-old son, Muhammad. And I've been spending a lot of time with Muhammad's mother, Aude's widow. For those of you who work in trauma and psychology and social work, you'll know that witnessing in a horrific event like that, sometimes the images unfold at their own time. Memories can come up, days, weeks, months, even years later. And so it's quite heartbreaking seeing little 2-year-old Hamude remember what happens to his father. He has a very good memory. He His mother told me today that he won't eat what is called dibis. Dibis is a Palestinian treat made of grapes. There's practically a vineyard, grape trees all over here, all over Palestine. And as you probably know, wine isn't made here. It's non-alcoholic culture for the most part, but Palestinians will make this grape paste. It's a sweet, dark, delicious paste. You just dip bread in it like jam, right? Oh, so good. Had some this morning. But Muhammad refuses, little 2-year-old Muhammad refuses to eat dibis now because it reminds him of his father's blood. So this is, yeah, this is where we are. What's kind of special about Khair is that folks like me are actually here. The activists here have put this small village on the map of the world. It's not something that every, genocided village gets to say. But this village is now inspiring other Palestinian villages to resist nonviolently. And the women here are also resisting in their own way, which is so powerful. When Aude was killed and his body was basically held hostage for over a week, almost 2 weeks, by the Israeli forces, the village was mourning and attacked, with tear gas and stun grenades and all sorts of things during that mourning period. The women decided to go on hunger strike. This is not something that is common at all. These are grandmothers, pregnant women, all the aunties taking care of the children decided we aren't going to eat. Maybe we'll eat a date a day, a date and a cup of tea a day. And they did this for 2 weeks, and sure enough, Aude's body was released back to the village. But that single act of resistance was so inspiring that other women are in villages in the West Bank are learning about what's possible. So I wanted to show you also, the kids are playing on this road here. This is a settler road that has been built through the center of Khair, the village. So settlers come in and out at all hours of the day and night. They often blare their radios while they're driving their cars at high speed. And, there are Palestinian children everywhere, and they just sort of honk and threaten to run over the kids. The lights at the other end of this street are where the settlement Carmel is. An outpost was just built beyond the playground here. There are 7 caravans. They were built after Aude was murdered. Uh, they were actually considered illegal by the Israeli courts. But again, law has no meaning here, so the settlers just continued to build, and they're quite frightening actually. So they walk through the village. They've created their own little path from Carmel. They walk in and out every day. They do military training exercises there. Um, they're mostly armed. And probably the most surreal thing one might witness here is on Friday evenings during Shabbat, where in a very kind of stately way, they will walk to these illegal outposts, the caravans, and engage in prayer and song and ritual, many of them armed with rifles and pistols and, right next to where we're standing here in the playground. They used to have a military escort and they used to do it in the middle of the road. Um, it's all very dystopian. It's all very dystopian. It's just a desecration of Judaism. And um, maybe I'll just leave it at that, Joyce, because there's so much, we can talk about, so much to say. But I just wanted you to get a kind of a lay of the village. Right now it's what is it? It's 8 o'clock my time, right? A little after 8. So a lot of the villagers themselves are having dinner and with their kids. Families are together. Um, Today was school. There's only school 3 days a week. Why not 5 days a week? Because there aren't enough funds that the Palestinian Authority has been able to distribute to schools and teachers. So without those funds, there's not enough school. So the kids are home way more often than they should be. Um, yeah, yeah, very sad. Means the moms and aunties are doing, twice the labor, taking care of them. So, um, yeah, Joyce, why don't I pass it back to you and
Yeah,
you can.
thank you. Thank you so much. It's so touching, confronting. Maybe it's good before we go to the sitting at the table to do a short meditation, if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, can I hand it over to you?
sure.
Thank you.
So, wherever you are, maybe you're sitting indoors, maybe outdoors, I invite you to take a few deep breaths, just inhaling slowly and exhaling at your own pace, deepening your breath if that feels comfortable. Noticing the support beneath the body. It may be the ground beneath the feet, maybe a chair or cushion beneath the legs, the hips, against the back. Yeah, maybe you feel like standing or moving or swaying. Just allow the body to do what it needs to do in this moment. As these are difficult conversations, and so you feel that movement will free some of that stuckness, free some of the emotion that may be arising as we share. Please go for it. Don't wait for an invitation. Feel free to drink, snack, take a break whenever you need to. Just noticing what's here now. Noticing any emotional states that arise. Maybe there's fear, anger, sleepiness. Just allowing it to be, whatever's here. Just like guests coming in for tea. Coming in for sweet Palestinian tea. And I invite you to think about the breath. Maybe that's your breathing, if that's comfortable for you. Noticing the inhalations and exhalations as the breath moves in and out of the body. This live meditation has been interrupted by the coolest kids in the world. And that is the dharma at work right here. It's like there are no boundaries. We are all just living among one another. This is this is and this is yeah, the kids are the heart of the village, as they are in most villages and most households, huh? But yeah, they're all grinning. All grinning. I've seen Alexandra here too. I've seen some moms and dads, and I just, one of the things that is difficult for me about Western Dharma is this separation of, the connected nature of things from our practice. And this is this is Dharma, it's like we can absolutely sit quietly and contemplate the breath and all sorts of things, but it's for them, right? It's for them so that they can grow up. They can grow up without fear of anything. So they have seen the dog. The dog is the star of the show now. Yeah, I'm just noticing the medicine of like laughing with y'all, with the kids. It's good medicine. Yeah, as powerful as any sitting meditation practice I've done. That's for sure. So yeah, very, very glad they could be a part of this. And that's sort of the beautiful thing about being here is realizing there's no boundary between practice and living. It's all one experience. Connecting with beings, connecting with the kids and the elders, and
Yeah, perhaps Anuradha, sorry for sort of interrupting you. I'm very touched by this most coolest meditation live until now. Perhaps you can tell a bit about your motivation, because I believe it's the second time you're there. Or what brings you to the West Bank in these times? Yeah.
I think I've been here 5 or 6 times over the years, and three times this year actually. Been going back and forth a few times. Being an activist in the States and in the West right now is sort of excruciating. I mean, being an activist anywhere is excruciating, but seeing our governments veer towards fascism or become fascist, it's been really difficult on all of us. And this feeling of watching genocide in real time in multiple multiple places, not just Gaza, but especially Gaza. I wanted to witness in ways that I maybe couldn't witness on a cell phone. And so it took me quite a while to get here emotionally because I was very fearful, which was interesting. I think folks often consider like the types of things I and my colleagues here are doing, sort of courageous. I mean, I carry a lot of fear with me. And it morphs into something like protectiveness, protectiveness for the kids, protectiveness for the elders. But fear has been a huge part of this. And working with my fear, confronting the fear, you know, can my body withstand this? The sense of anxiety, the sense of horror, the sense of violation. And it turns out, yeah, I'm quite resilient, especially with people, with friends.
Mhm.
We are never alone here. So whether that's with Palestinian friends or international friends, I've never felt so connected. And the house demolition order here in Khair, when I found out about it, when I found out over 100, almost half the village would be homeless if this came to be,
Wow.
it felt like it's our dharma, as we say in South Asia, it's our duty. We just do it, right? So I got on a plane and uh, thank God I was able to cross the border to basically support my friend, support Alde's widow, who's only 24, support her 3 children, just play with them, right? It's not rocket science. It's not even fancy activism. It's literally showing up and standing in solidarity. It's not all that much, and that also is the essence of the Dharma, I think.
Mm.
It's just standing there and knowing with the people who are targeted by these systems. They know they're not alone when we're
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wow, that's really Dharma practice. And yeah, we are witnessing now. So I notice it really touches me. So I'm curious if there are some people now that would like to ask you some questions. Uh, so that I'm not the only one speaking to you. So is there anyone who wants to ask Anuradha something? Everyone silence. Yeah. Well, perhaps you can tell something also about the harassment. What's the
Mm.
strategy behind it, if there is any? Just to take care that the people go away or that they can take the land. I believe that will be the reason. But what does it consist of? Also, because we don't know, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah. So international presence here is very much needed, very much asked for by Palestinians. If Palestinians don't want us here, we will leave instantly. Um, we do what's called protective presence, but it has come to be known in the last few months as solidarity presence because we are not protecting anyone
Mm.
ultimately from the Zionist state. It's the power that they wield is unstoppable, frankly, without our governments stopping
Mm.
Israel. So what can we do here? We can stand and witness and document every moment of harassment, every incident of physical violence. And we gather these videos and these photographs and we send them to human rights lawyers who are both Palestinian and leftist Israeli, and they use this video and camera footage for court cases.
Mm.
And it's mind-boggling, but people are still trying to use the Israeli judicial system to get justice for Palestinians when there will be no justice for Palestinians. It's
Wow. Yeah.
and still, right? Like the steadfastness, the patience, the resilience of people using that system when they are trying to breathe in this occupation, when murder happens with impunity in your own village. And still they know, right, that if they resist violently, it will be worse, right? So might as well use these systems.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. Just sort of witnessing the resilience isn't the word for it, but sort of dreaming. They still dream that the international community will get it one day,
Yeah.
right? We'll stop the Trumps and the Netanyahus and so on of the world.
Mhm.
We will stop the supply of military weapons to the
Yeah.
Israeli forces.
Mhm.
Still, the dream, the hope, and again, you see these children, you're like, well, you have to
Yeah.
dream, you have to hope.
Yeah.
What is the alternative?
Yeah.
And many, many folks here will absolutely tell you they'll die before they'll leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see some raised hands, Anuradha. Irini, please unmute yourself. Hello, nice to see you again.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Thank you all for hosting Anuradha. And Anuradha, thank you so much for reporting live with us of what was going on. And thank you to all those children that came on. I felt like I needed that after hearing what's been going on, even though I already know what's been going on. My question is one thing I've been thinking about, and I would like to hear your thoughts. Within our Buddhist lineages, there's a lot of talk about peace, and within, Thich Nhat Hanh famously said, like, there is no path to peace, like peace is the way. And amidst so little justice, I'm wondering how can we cultivate a practice of justice as the way when there is no justice, when we're not seeing any accountability and complete total impunity in Palestine and also in the US with the ICE raids. How can we cultivate this feeling of justice? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Irini, and thanks for all of the activism that you're doing in the States. It's really felt. Um, You know, I think one of the problems with Western Buddhism, and many of you have written and spoke about this extensively within these infuriating institutions, which haven't done a thing for Palestine. This idea that like peace in Western Buddhist institutions means not confronting injustice, sort of quietly sitting and taking it,
Mhm.
learning to manage the anxiety of witnessing genocide, something like that.
Yeah.
And, we know as human beings, I think it's deep in our DNA that that is not the way, that we must be there for one another in more legitimate ways. How do we show up for one another? It's not sitting quietly on a meditation cushion. That's not helping. That's not helping Palestinians in their struggle for liberation. Um, and I think like something about when you're talking about justice, Rini, like I wonder what you think of. There's justice in faith, like there's resistance in faith, and so as the village and all villages in this area sort of wake up, prayer is constantly happening, right? You hear the adhan, several times a day. There literally will be settlers attacking, army supporting, police coming up to take their reports. All of this is happening, and you might see somebody unfold a prayer mat and pray. This happens constantly, and it boggles my mind. It's the most beautiful thing I've seen, maybe. A dear friend of mine was detained by a settler who was dressed in uniform. We call them settler soldiers. They're sort of paramilitary, armed by Smotrich and Ben Gvir, these monstrous members of the Knesset, secretaries of Netanyahu's regime. And as the forces were gathering, he was shepherding with his sheep. I was the only person with him. He was shepherding, and he knelt down, and I was, what is Ahmed doing? He knelt down and started praying while these security forces were standing mulling about. And it was the biggest act of resistance I'd ever seen up front. With his head on the earth, right?
Mm.
Again and again and again. As if nothing was happening around him, because what could be more important than prayer in that moment? I just blew my mind. There's a sense, and I think in many of our ancient cultures, like our ancestors know this, and I'm not wise enough to even put it to words, but there's a knowing that there's something beyond these systems that we mere humans have invented, these systems of law and order and whatnot. There's just a knowing, and you see it when the children gather, you see it when a group of men or women are in prayer. You feel it. You literally feel it. And, with our dharma practice, we can feel it. We can feel the shift. We're like, oh, okay, there's some power in this. What does this mean? And so there's integrity in it. There's integrity in the faith. There's a love in the faith. There's resistance in the faith. So I think there's something there, Rini. I don't know what you think in terms of justice.
Beautiful. You get a heart from Irini. I see also Alexandra with a raised hand. Thank you for your answer, Anuradha. Alexandra, please go ahead.
Hi, it's so good to see you. So a question that's been coming up a lot when I'm engaging with people, whether they're Buddhists or people who are very spiritually convicted, is sort of this question of what is my responsibility to put myself in harm's way for the people of Palestine? And what is my responsibility to my responsibilities here, whatever, at home, to family and all that. And the line between sort of what risks we're willing to take for what is the most horrible thing many of us have ever seen. So it certainly feels like the potential worthy risk is very high. And then, of course, like you named, practicing with fear. And I was just curious how you practice with all that, because you've done what a lot of us would like to think we would do, which is get in there, and we either can't or we're not ready or whatever. And I just wanted to know how you practice with that line as you do put your body in the mix.
Yeah.
And how your dharma informs that, how your Buddhist practice informs that, how you practice with that line.
Alexandra, your writing is so good. If y'all haven't been on Alexandra's Substack, you need to instantly. There's a sort of growing number of us who are putting words to our feelings of sort of Western Buddhist inadequacy. I know Eric is here as well somewhere. There he is. But yeah, I really encourage, like, it is so comforting getting Alexandra's weekly Substack post, because I don't feel insane, right? She's putting to words what I'm feeling and what I may not be able to articulate in that moment. So thank you for that. That's one way, right? Like that's also risk. Of course, you're risking lots putting your words to writing on Palestine. I mean, the repression has been mind-boggling even before Trump arrived. There's no free speech in the United States. And students are being expelled for protesting for peace. No. For me, I think it was about 2 or 3 months into the genocide, and I was in California. I was feeling so low. I was very, clinically depressed. I was feeling suicidal, quite honestly. Wondering, like, is it worth it? Like, why even live, right? This is how I felt, and yeah, I'm just sitting with the memory of that for a second. But I realized maybe a month or two into that depressive episode, it kind of lifted, and I thought, what do I want to do now? What do I want to do? right? I can write. I'm a writer, okay, but it doesn't feel like enough. Um, and I expressed to a friend, I don't say this lightly, but yeah, I'm ready to die for this cause. I am. It's okay. Like it's gonna be okay. I don't have a child, right? I have a very elderly father. I wouldn't want him to have to go through that. But there's something I know that uh in my bio, I don't talk about my military experience all that much anymore. It's not a point of pride. It's more of if you know it, I want you to know it because of the growth I experienced during it. Trying to like fighting for my own dignity, trying to survive within that brutal institution. But I'm actually quite comfortable with soldiers, you know? Maybe that's why I'm here.
Uh-huh.
Armed soldiers pointing a loaded machine gun at my head. It's not pleasant, right? And yet, okay, it's okay. Like if there are Palestinian men, women, or children, I'm particularly sensitive to folks who are older than me or the little ones, of course. I'm happy to put my body between a gun and them. Yeah, I just don't, as you would before your baby's body. Like I know this. I don't have to ask. Like it's just what we do when we love one another, right? I've met Israeli leftists here. I would do the same for them. I can't believe the risks they take here. They're going
Mhm.
against their whole upbringing and society and have been cast out by family. And some of them are, wow, talk about warrior spirit, risking everything, even the comfort of home and community. Um, and so for me, it's really asking those truly hard questions. Like you're a mother. I think about the mothers and fathers here, right? Taking care of their children. And it's an insane circus. I mean, with these settlers all over the place. And you've got kids just growing up, you know, living in fear uh of these uniformed armed people uh walking around with their children and their dogs in the Palestinian village. Like, are you kidding me? This is insane. You're walking your dog here with your rifle slung over your back? Totally
Mhm.
insane. Science fiction. Um, all the heart practices are where it's at, and it doesn't mean necessarily like I feel like Alexander, your understanding of like Dharma 101 is so much deeper than mine. I find my practice is less about like learning studying the Dharma as we know it in the institutions, right? In the monasteries and
Yeah.
so on, right? It's more like witnessing and handling my emotions in these volatile moments,
I mean, that's the dharma.
right?
It's the three knowings.
It's
The first one is the brain, but the second one is
huh.
the body and
Yeah, yeah.
action.
Well, I really study it in these interactions with settlers. Some of these settlers are really young. They're 15, 16. So,
Yeah.
I call them the child soldiers of Zionism.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Israelis don't, but they are. That's what they are. Child soldiers. Many of them are exploited, sent to these settlements, manipulated. Um, and it's still hard for me to hate them. And it's not like I'm trying to hate anybody, right? But it's hard for me to, and this is insane. I mean, perhaps there's something like noble in that, but these young people are terrorizing. They are often physically brutalizing Palestinian children and men and women. And like what is the right response, right, in my body to interacting with that? Like what I was documenting a kid today, and he's got this long blonde hair, and he looks like he should be surfing in California,
Mhm.
right? Not like throwing rocks at sheep and terrorizing families. I just
Mhm.
right. He's a kid. He should be surfing. He should be hanging out with his friends on the beach. That's where I go with this. And he's acting despicably, right? I can't even say he's a despicable person. He's acting despicably, and his ringleader is an adult. His ringleader is even more despicable. And so I sit with my feelings like daily. I'm obsessed with his ringleader. I'm obsessed. Like I have to write about this ringleader.
Please, I'm obsessed, and now I need all to
Yeah, I
hear.
mean, and I don't know what to do about it. Like I don't know what to do about Shimon. His name is Shimon. I joke around about it. People say, "Are you busy?" And I'm like, I don't know. I have to ask Shimon what he's doing because like, if he's out here, I have to be out here. But
Yeah.
there's no answers yet. Maybe we can
Yeah,
write our way
no,
through it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
And I see another raised hand here. Joyce, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Anuradha. You were talking about motherhood with in response to Alexandra's question, and I was wondering, what about the mothers in this village? How do they do it?
Yeah, how do mothers do it anywhere? Mothers and sisters and aunties and daughters are definitely underappreciated here as they are throughout the world. Um, uh, so I'll tell the story that I told you earlier, which is when I was out documenting Shimon terrorizing a village down the road. He was in his ATV preventing an older Palestinian man from plowing his farmland. And now is the season of plowing. And yeah, it's one of the ways in which the settler movement is terrorizing Palestinians this month, just refusing to let them plant their seeds and plow their land. So Shimon in his ATV is cutting off the old man in his tractor, and it turns into this wild kind of NASCAR race, and they're circling, and the Palestinian elder tries to drive. Shimon cuts him off. The Palestinian elder, rapidly turns around. Then there's like 15 of us between the two vehicles. It was complete madness. It's the craziest thing I've ever experienced here. And I mean, quite dangerous also. And I've never seen a tractor move so fast. Eventually, the Palestinian man is surrounded by soldiers, settler soldiers, police. Every level of security force was out there, and they detained him, even though he was just plowing his land. Right? There's no justification. And then they concocted an excuse that he was trying to run people over. He's trying to run the settler over, which is insane. Um, Such a sweet man. He was later arrested. Thank God he was not beaten while he was arrested. That's always the worry. Will he be beaten? Will he be tortured? Will he return to his home? Thankfully he was not beaten, not tortured, and he was returned to his home several hours later. And that is just life as a Palestinian, particularly man or boy, but as a Palestinian. But while all of this madness was unfolding on the field, on the plowing field, his two settlers, one of them a settler youth, were just going around just wreaking havoc. And one of them groped me, and I was like quite aware of it happening as it was happening, but I was also uh, trying desperately to get closer to the old man, to Ammo, because he was clearly being terrorized by the soldiers, and I wanted to make sure he was okay. So it's protective instinct. Like I think it's a mother and father instinct. It's a sibling instinct. You just want to get to where the person is being threatened. And so I didn't like really process that this guy had his body on my body. Only 19, this kid, Matan. I discover his name is. We learn settler names quickly. Um, And, you know, having worked on sexual violence in the US military for 15 years at least, and in quite like excruciating detail, I was like, oh, this is happening again, right? This is how it is for women and girls. And lots of men too, especially in Palestine. But this is how it is for women and girls. And I needed to tell this story to as many people in the last 48 hours as possible because I needed for them to know that the settlers are also sexually violating the safety and space of women and girls. And it turns out, of course, and this is for many of us, you know, when we share a story, we hear more stories, right? And so I thought, oh my gosh, okay, this is happening to Palestinian women and girls by the Israeli forces. Um, we've got to document this. You know, people around the world need to know that settler youth in particular, but the settler movement is engaged in rape culture and the harassment and assault of Palestinian women and girls who are not as visible in the media as Palestinian men. They carry responsibility that, you know, is familiar to all of you for sure, but they're the unsung heroes. They take care of the kids. They cook for all of us, even after, you know, Hanadi has been cooking for dozens of people every day during her mourning period after her husband Aude was killed. It's remarkable. Always caretaking, always making sure we are okay. Taking care of the children, their elders. You know, for those of you in traditional cultures, you'll know like daughters-in-law are often, you know, under the power of their mothers-in-law. It's true here too, right? Like you have many bosses, including your mother-in-law. And so, yeah, seeing them handle all of that with such grace and with no appreciation. You know, man, my mother who passed 2 years ago, like she is with me. She's watching all of this. She's rooting for these young Palestinian women. They have so many dreams. I mean, this is not surprising, but like we need to name it. They have so many dreams. Hanadi wants to be a baker and a small business owner and a restaurateur, and she could do it. Like she could do it. Her sister wants to open a granola business, you know, like Palestinian granola, you know, and it has simsim, the sesames in it. It's her her different drafts of the granola are quite delicious. They led the hunger strike after Aude was killed. Amazing leadership, you know, but they are also required to be in the background. So, you know, I wanted Hanade, for instance, to join me, but she's both in mourning and also most of the women and girls in this particular village, being a traditional Bedouin village, don't want to be on screen.
Yeah.
You know?
Understandably. Yeah.
So
So there was one question about food. Is there a problem, or are there enough resources?
food.
Yeah.
There's enough as it stands. We also have an emergency relief fund for the village, especially if the demolitions happen and you know half the village is immediately made homeless. And what will happen? I mean that's sort of like the obvious part. Okay, the houses will be destroyed. But what usually happens is all the men in the village are then arrested. All the community leaders will be arrested, right? They will be tortured. They may be imprisoned for days, maybe for weeks, but the army will close down this village. And so people and things will not easily get in and out, including perhaps food. So between food and medical supplies, and wood, it's getting very cold out here now. And so we just got a donation of firewood for all the villagers, which was amazing. It was like a really great day yesterday because the donation came in for that. So yes, the villagers have enough food now. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Hey, and for when is the demolition planned, in fact?
Well, it's kind of a waiting game, and that's one of the horrifying things
Oh,
of
wow. Yeah.
the system is you never know. Every time there's a bulldozer that comes down the street, you know, the activists, we're all
Wow.
on our signal group, just, you know, if it looks like a demolition is happening, it usually means there's a bulldozer coming down the road with military forces. Now, it might not be a demolition here, it might be a demolition in another village. About 2 weeks ago, demolition forces were at the gates of this village, and it was horrifying to witness, all the people in the village just panicking, right? Like
Yeah.
today's the day. They ended up leaving this village and demolishing 2 houses in a neighboring village, right? Which is equally devastating.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
This is what they do. And they're,
Yeah.
the lawyers for Khair are fighting in court, to what end, we don't know. But this is largely a political campaign as well. Like, as far as we're concerned, the only people who can stop it are folks in the West who raise hell in their governments. And so far, I think it seems to be working. So far, the fact that
Okay.
all of this has not been demolished yet,
Yes, yeah.
largely, I would say 108 American members of Congress have something to do with that.
Hey, I see also a raised hand of Dirk. Dirk, please go ahead.
Yeah, Anuradha, I was thinking when listening to your story, I mean, you already mentioned the word, but Wild West. It's a complete sickening Wild West which you're in. And then I mentioned already in the beginning before we started, like we can feel so helpless, or so limited when it comes to helping the Palestinians out. You know, the people you there in the West Bank, and so the first question is how can we help? And I would like to add, like the underlying question also in a Wild West, for example, you can also put question marks behind whether money can be really usable, or is it like, yeah, well, let's just keep it open, but how can we help?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to underplay what's happening right now as we speak, right? These conversations are so important. They're happening more often. I'm sure when you all started, it felt more excruciating in a different way. I know it did for us in Buddhists for Justice in Palestine. Just, Alexandra, the work you're doing, Irini, Eric, like it's been agonizing, and yet I feel like our numbers are growing, and our need to be supported by the systems has, like, it's not there anymore. We don't need to be, told, like, oh, you don't believe it's there's a break that's happened for many of us
Yeah.
with our schools, our dharma institutions, our teachers. I mean, it's been painful, right? It's been so painful. And yet, like, wow, now I don't have all of that on my shoulders, and I am one who feels most liberated when I can speak the truth or write the truth. I'd rather be here with fewer friends, right? But with the friends who I know are really here, which is all of you. Like, our numbers are growing. We don't want to live in a world in which genocide is the norm. We don't want to live in a world in which xenophobia and racism are the norm. We just don't. Like, enough is enough already. So, going back to Alexander's question about risk, it's like, I think we actually know. I think deeply we do know how much we want to risk, right? For each person, there's going to be a different point. But yeah, we see what we're made of, I think, in these moments of financial uncertainty, economic uncertainty, everything. It's just we do more of this. We have to do more of this, and without fear from the systems. They are not doing it right. I don't even think they were doing it right. If you removed all the genocide from the world, they still would not be doing it right. It's an appropriated system of teachings. It's always been racist. It's always been capitalist in nature, and it's always been Zionist. In the States, anyway, it's always been Zionist. So it's sort of, a colonially appropriated version of teachings of, from the East. And it holds no water anymore. It's like it doesn't have substance.
Yeah.
And we know this because we're living in times of realness. We're living in times where we feel when somebody's listening to us in conversation. We feel when somebody cares. We feel when somebody is in it for the money. We feel when somebody
Yeah.
is in it for themselves. We are all hyper sensitized and also sensitive in all the ways that being sensitive is beautiful. We don't need those systems. So more of this,
Yeah.
and let's bring delegations to Sudan and Western Sahara and Congo and Palestine and Kashmir. Let's do this. Like, let's do it. We don't have to wait for the churches to do it. We don't have to wait for the temples or synagogues. We can also do that. We are doing it, in fact. We're doing it now, right?
Yeah, sure.
And Anuradha, does money help?
Yes.
Sounds perhaps pretty weird, but to ask, but
Yes.
does money help?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's always the feeling, like I know when I donate to UNRWA, some giant organization, it feels like, is this doing anything? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know I can say because I'm here, if you donate to the Khair Fund, the Aude Hatalin Fund, the Aude, the martyr who was killed here 4 months ago, it will go directly to the hands of the villagers. And so, like, I just made a donation recently. It will go directly to medical supplies, milk and baby formula, things like diapers, um, real necessities in a time
Mhm.
of war, or peace for that matter. So, even a few $100s will go a long way here
Yeah.
in Amalkhair,
Yeah.
in a small village. And we have so many good connections. And the Center for Jewish Nonviolence is the organization which I am funneling money through because I adore them. They're very well respected here. They're very anti-colonial in the way they operate here. They bring American Jews to Masafriyata to learn about the occupation and to assist in protective presence. And I really like the way they operate. And I have some high standards. So, but
Okay.
their financial pictures is good. Like, you can trust that your money will get here.
Yeah, there's a question now to put some links to the donation sites in the chat, perhaps already. That could be an idea, and we will also send them later, perhaps, Dirk. I'm not sure. By email that you can all donate, and we know now directly where it's going, and that is really helpful.
Yeah,
So,
and also just want to
yeah,
mention that money works because, for
yeah,
example, at a certain moment when things become super expensive, or when, for example, the money system is collapsing, basically, is being people cannot access their bank accounts and these sort of things. So I'm super glad to hear that, that we have that there's a clear, donation goal here, which really works. I mean, that's really good to hear. Yeah.
yeah,
Anuradha, is it okay if I put your PayPal in?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Sure. Thanks, Alexandra.
Mhm.
Yeah, anything you donate to the organization that I help lead, Decolonial Dharma, will also go toward. So right now, I mean, I didn't mention this, but we have a small BIPOC delegation here, mostly Buddhist, actually. A couple of our folks didn't get in. Ajahn Santamano did not make it in. One of our folks was sent home. He was very sick. It's been an incredible experience, actually, kind of having activists from colonized backgrounds here, working alongside Palestinians. It's been really moving.
yeah. How many are you? How many?
Right now, three women
Okay.
from China, India, and El Salvador. And Mark here has been helping us a lot with Mark Jiho Taylor with supporting us. It hasn't been without cost.
Mhm.
But it's amazing. It's like, those of you who are my age will appreciate this reference. I do not like Woody Allen, but that movie he did ages ago where the sperm are trying desperately to get to the egg is
Yeah.
how I feel it is being an international visitor here trying to get through the Israeli customs world.
Uh-huh.
It's like, if we can get one through, it'll be victory, right? But Yes, that is how my mind works.
Yeah, I know the title of the film.
I don't
Everything you
remember.
wanted to know about sex and were afraid to ask.
That's what
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
yeah. What a nice metaphor to use right now. It's incredible, your humor, Anuradha. Yeah,
We laugh a lot here, but
yeah,
honestly, it's the only way. I learned that from
mhm,
my dad. My dad's 91, so he's doing something right. We laugh at all the inappropriate moments too. So,
yeah. Uh,
yeah.
so we are quite a large community. Perhaps there's somebody else who would like to ask a question to Anuradha. Please use your time. Uh, if there's anything you want to ask, please feel free. Anuradha, just wondering, do you know of Satyam, another common community in the West Bank? I have a question
Satyam.
here. Satyam, yeah. Do you know about that community?
I don't think so.
No, no. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Anuradha. I'm enjoying so much listening to you, and I'm looking forward to sharing this conversation with all my activist friends, Buddhist and non-Buddhist. So my question to you is, I'm in the UK, as you can see, and I'm in touch with various Buddhists and other faith-related organizations, and we already have quite a tradition of taking action. Obviously, the UK was the original oppressor in that part of the world, and it's something that not enough British people are really aware of, I don't think. So, from your perspective in the West Bank, if you had to invite us to target our efforts, on what part of the British state should we, as Buddhists and as people of faith, target our nonviolent practice in the UK?
I mean, in some ways, Nick, you're already doing it. I feel like even the Palestine action moment has been historic. There are lots of moments within this kind of 2.5 years that have been like vi visual landmarks for us, but seeing British elders being scraped off the street by people a third of their age, right? Coppers, like that was extraordinary for me. What with the old man who said, like, I can't hear you, but I think you're saying you're arresting me, It was fantastic. Um, I think you're already doing it. I think the folks who are disrupting, the weapons companies and whatnot, and I see, I know less about British politics than American politics, but the left, the candidates on the left who are appearing, Green Party, Mamdani in our case, and these are not singular cases. They are inspiring others to run as well. So, I mean, I do feel like our resistance is active and vibrant, and uh, just keep on, keep on. I really do feel like once we cast off the fear of, look, we are in the minority, but this is how it's always been, right? For just causes. It has always been this way. So say the elders, right? So, let's gather solace among one another, right? Yeah, you're going to face some hostile people out there. We all have, right? That's what has brought us here. But let's collectively cast off the fear and do more of what we're doing. We're on the right path, but it's that weapon supply. We have to stop the weapon supply here. And Adia Isabel hablo español, so uh, ¿puedo llamarte
Sí,
después?
sí.
¿Te puedo llamar después? ¿Ya?
Ay, sí, por favor, yo puse mi teléfono ahí.
Ok, ok.
Ah, qué bueno. Thank
Qué bueno.
you.
So somebody else who would like to ask Anuradha, now we're live, a question. Please feel free. Yes, Zina. Go ahead, please.
Hi. I think I I think more and more about the future. I recently got back from Baghdad, Iraq, and it was almost like getting sort of a sneak peek into Philistine's, Gaza's future after um, after after the colonization happens, after this. I'm sorry. I'm trying to form my thoughts eloquently while sort of keeping my emotions in check. I'm thinking on a psychological level of how this community, this global community, can actually help the Palestinians maintain their sense of emotional welfare and emotional well-being, because the experience that I had looking at the Iraqi people, it's like you see the trauma being worn as this cloak. So people are very closed off, they're hardened, they are afraid, and the level of corruption that we see happening within that government right now really bleeds into the people. So there's a certain level of shallow relationships that happen because people are so closed off and so afraid of being injured, being harmed, being re-traumatized, being damaged. And so I know from an Arab's perspective, other Arabs don't like Palestinians. I've had this conversation with my mom, and I said, why? What's the problem? And she said, because they've been hardened by all of the decades of trauma, right? So there is this.
Sina, may I ask you what is the question you want to ask Anuradha, perhaps? Sorry for.
I'm trying to create a context for the question itself. Is how, as we in a community that's global, that's really separate from this insular traumatic experience, like we don't have an ability to really understand the psychological implications of what is going on right now. So how can we actually apply all of this dharma, all of these spiritual teachings that we're learning, that we're trying to understand and practice? How do we actually apply that in reality when it comes to the struggle of the Palestinian people from a psychological, trauma-informed way?
Zena, that's huge. And also, everyone, if you don't know Zena's art, you must know. Zena is an incredible artist, visual artist, and some of her work is featured on Bad Buddhists, our magazine, our Substack. But you absolutely need to. Zena, like I don't even know. It's hard for me to contemplate the macro stuff right now. Like changing governments. It's like my body can't contemplate it, but what it can contemplate is, okay, Hanadi still isn't seeing a therapist regularly. The kids need to see a child therapist. What city in Palestine can they do that in? Some of the NGOs have offered help, but they're understaffed. So they can't, bring a therapist to the village. Like it's the micro stuff. It's not like the trauma of the entire Palestinian diaspora, right? Because that's something. Or the Iraqi diaspora. It kind of for me goes back to what Nick I think was asking, which is there's a lot of, from the Westerners' point of view, and I'm still sort of atoning. Atoning is a little bit of a problematic word, but it's a little too Christian for me, or Judeo-Christian for me, but it's taking responsibility for my choices, however naive they were in my youth, like joining the Marine Corps. What the hell was that about? But it happened, right? It happened. The young version of myself did this for whatever karmic reasons. I have some ideas, but so how do we take responsibility for the harmful decisions we may have made? More harmful toward me actually than towards other people in reality. As far as the British Empire goes, I mean, yeah, it's a long history to take responsibility for, but how refreshing would it be? I know I'd appreciate it. I'm like, thanks for doing the work, guys. Really. I mean, Americans need to do that for Iraq and so many other places, and Vietnam, and on, half the globe. But it's important, I don't have to do it in like a self-deprecating, I'm so worthless sort of way. But like, really, like if I'm going to be part of this human family, I've got to really know and feel what I may have engaged in, what I have done to other human beings or beings, and this is how I'm going to behave now. These are the values I'm going to live now. It's all, I mean, and so what I'm saying is we can only really influence the things immediately around us and within us. And I think it's not small to do that, for one life to one person to take responsibility for her decisions or her actions and to move in a different direction. That's huge. Well, everybody's always watching, our relatives, our friends, our neighbors. That's huge. It influences so many people when we make these shifts.
Yeah. This is answer a bit your question, Zina, because there was also something in it that you said that Arab people look in a certain way to Palestinians. Is that what I heard?
The infighting. It's the infighting. Iranians hate Iraqis. Iraqis don't. This is a huge problem, and this is a global problem where, I look at the comments section when I do get on social media, and it is a post about food. And you see people fighting about where this food came from. And I think for me, what I'm looking for is like something tangible, like a tangible project that we can do. Because you talked about, Anuradha, you talked about therapy. Where is it possible, since there is access to internet, is it possible to have like group therapy sessions for these women, for these children, for the population that gets that needs it right now in this now moment of doing the laundry of trauma work while it's happening, right? And I'm not saying trying to get ahead of the trauma, because there's a whole generations of grief that you have to get through to be able to release this trauma from your body. But what I'm saying is how can you do the laundry? How can you do the maintenance of the trauma work right now on a global community, a global community scale?
Yeah. Is there an answer to that, Anuradha? Do you think?
I mean, to some extent, yes. And I'll just from this village's point of view, as we talked about, the women are so overwhelmed with caretaking right now, on top of just surviving the occupation.
Yeah.
I mean, this bastard I was describing, Shimon. I mean, he's broken Hanadi's wrists in his car. He's injured Hanadi's mother's ankle. I mean, he's a beast, right? So therapy, we were talking through like what therapy might look like, since the NGOs are having trouble sending people here. Maybe it's a Zoom call, right? So I'm thinking along the lines that you are. But what does she need in order to get on Zoom? Well, first she needs a laptop, probably. Like let's give the woman a laptop, but also she needs quiet. She needs privacy.
Yeah.
Looking after three little kids. Do you know how many people, how many of her sisters and brothers and in-laws are like barging through her? You know how it is. And this is
Yeah.
also like the typical situation of a young woman in a traditional society where she is literally caretaking for, 25 people every day. An hour on Zoom? Are you kidding? That's a luxury.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
An
we got to
hour.
create,
Yeah.
we have to create, help support creating those spaces for privacy. There are no boundaries in our cultures. There are no boundaries here. There are no closed doors. As you can
Yeah.
see, it's like, you know, what's therapy? Therapy on Zoom? But yes, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks. That's really clear. Like, let's listen to Rachel. Rachel, please ask your question. Feel free.
Hi, first I want to say thank you so much. I'm so happy I found everybody. This is my first time here, and this has been amazing. It's so nice to be around Buddhists and Sangha that actually care about things. I'm currently with a Sangha right now that has been completely silent for the past couple years, if not outright Zionist. And so my question is about right speech. Because I feel like I have been vocal in this group from the beginning, but it's been kind of a silent way of wearing a keffiyeh or painting my nails with the Palestinian flag or whatever it is. And I feel like this Sangha has kind of brainwashed me into thinking that if I talk about this, I'm being gossipy and I'm not doing right speech. So just kind of how do you balance, I want to kind of stay in with this Sangha so I can keep talking to people because I
Yeah.
actually found out about y'all from someone who at a sesshin of 100 people, they sat me next to another guy wearing a keffiyeh. So as soon as we broke silence, we were just talking away. But I also want to make sure I'm not being gossipy. I'm kind of answering my own question. Like it's not gossiping when you're talking about something,
Yeah.
but just how do you
Yeah.
merge those things?
Yeah, Rachel, I love that inquiry. And I think it's an
Mhm.
inquiry all of us have been wrestling with or have wrestled with at some point in the last 2.5 years, especially. So I would encourage you to reframe the way you think about all of this. So I'm a teacher at East Bay Meditation Center, which is considered, kind of a radical progressive institution in the East Bay in California, Bay Area, right? Has done incredible work on building community for folks of color, queer people, disabled folks. It feels really great on the outside. On Zionism, they've got some work to do. And so I've been opening my big mouth and saying exactly what the work needs to be. It has felt so isolating and alienating. And this is one of the most progressive Buddhist groups in the States. I have felt shamed. I have felt tiny. All these things that, again, they're the feelings from my youth. Like they're not part of my current. I don't really obsess about these things, but they're memories from youth. These feelings of being small and unwanted and whatnot. That's how I feel with these groups. Um, we must name we must name the things that are unjust in our societies. We must name them. It's just as simple as that. I don't think the institution that you're talking about, from what you've shared, I don't think they are in sync with the values of the Dharma.
Mhm.
Is that judgmental? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I really encourage also like the Asians among us, and Asia's a big place from Palestine to Japan. However, I do encourage the East and South and Southeast Asians among us to take a little more like maybe the word is pride in our heritages and demand that Western institutions live the values of the actual Dharma that the Buddha created
Mhm.
teachings which are based on radical mutual aid, on fighting systems of patriarchy and poverty and caste. Bus. Halas. Like that is the dharma, right?
Yeah.
Anything else is just Westerners being fancy on meditation cushions. Am I being judgmental? I don't know. I mean, this is just what I see, right? But like our ancestors are calling to us to speak the truth. Just to speak what you have, we must name what we see. Otherwise, we are not following our duty.
Yeah. Well, on this note, Anuradha, which is we are going to end this sitting at the table with you, and want to thank everybody for the presence, for the questions, and Anuradha for what you're representing, what your truth talking, your truth being is really so inspiring. Thank you so, so much for your time and your willingness to live for this and to bring it into life instead of this Disney World Buddhism that is taught in a lot of sanghas.
Thank you, Doreen. Thank you to all of you. I really this is a powerful group of people. Powerful. I think we are unstoppable. You know, I said earlier that Israel is unstoppable, but I think we are unstoppable. And when we have our peoples, each of us has our peoples that are also here with us. And let's just keep going. Do not be afraid of these people. Rachel, do not let them make you small. You just keep on going.
Yes. Let's grow stronger and talk about this to your people in the Sangha, people you trust or don't trust, whatever. Speak up. It's so important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for everything you guys are doing. Liberation Circle. We appreciate and see you.
Joyce, perhaps you want to take over from me now?
Just to activate your mic.
Thought I did it. As we come to a close, I'd like to ask one simple question. Just how is your heart right now? Over the last hour or so, we've been listening to Anuradha, straight from the West Bank, from inside a daily reality, a reality of occupation, excuse me, checkpoints, fear, resistance, and many of us are in relative safety. And that asymmetry is uncomfortable, and it should be. But the question is, what do we do with that discomfort? Liberation Circle is just one small answer. We come together to stay present with suffering, to refuse numbness, and to let what we hear affect how we live. Another answer is to support the work that makes this kind of truth-telling and practice possible. Anuradha is not only a writer and activist, she's also building the colonial dharma, a space where dharma, the colonial struggle, and solidarity with Palestine are held together. And that takes enormous time, energy, and courage, especially from within an active war and occupation. If you have felt moved or clarified by this evening, I want to warmly invite you to consider making a financial contribution to the colonial dharma. For example, via the donate page on the website. Dirk already placed a link in the chat. And even a small monthly gift helps sustain this work. And share this work in their work in your communities, in your sanghas, activist circles, or social networks, so more people can hear these voices and teachings. And beyond that, you might carry one simple question with you when you leave. What is one concrete way I can stay in solidarity in my conversations, my choices, my money, my attention after tonight? You don't have to have a perfect answer, even a quiet intention. I will not look away. I will keep listening. That can be a beginning. Liberation Circle is an ongoing experiment in how we can practice liberation together. If you know of voices, movements, or communities you feel we should learn from, we warmly welcome your suggestions for future guest speakers. And I want to say a deep thank you to Anuradha for joining us from the West Bank and sharing her lived reality with us. Thank you to all of you for your presence and your willingness to listen and to feel. May what we have heard tonight travel with us into our practice, our relationships, and our actions into the world. Thank you for being here.
May you all open your microphones and say goodbye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Adios.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tschüss.
Bye. Tschüss.
Bye-bye. All the best.
Bye.
Vielen Dank.